today's message is what destroys relationships between parents and their children. What destroys relationships between parents and their children? What is it that destroys relationships between parents and their children? I think that would be an interesting topic for us to explore. Unfortunately, the battle between children and parents have always been epic. They have always been there for ages, and it's a battle of generations. And there are many factors for it, but I'm not going to be talking about the sociological or anthropological factors for the relationship, for the destruction of relationships. So we could talk about the difference in generations. We could talk about the advancement in civilization. We could talk about the fact that, some older people are always conservative, why the new generation are always modernist. We could talk about, reasons. We could talk about progress as a factor that makes, that brings a dichotomy between the children and their parents. We could talk about all those other sociological and psychological and anthropological reasons why there is a bad relationship, or why the relationships are destroyed between parents and their children. But in this particular case, I'm talking in sense of family. So when I'm talking about what destroys relationship between parents and their children, I'm not talking about all the general factors, the scientific factors. I'm talking more about the family issues and relational issues. And so I'm going to base my arguments only on relationships and on what happens in the homes and in families, in homes and families. So here we go. What are the things that could destroy your relationship with your children? Number one, when children discover that the parent or the mother or the father don't keep to their words. When children discover that papa or mother say something and they don't do it. When they discover that you are just manipulating them, they don't like that. Children don't like to see that you are not real. Children want to see that you are real, that you are genuine, and that you are who you say you are. Children want to find out that you are who you say you are, and that you are not fake and you are not a liar. That you are not fake and you are not a liar. So you know what to do. If you really want your children, your relationship with your children to be good and to be steady and not to hit the rock, and to try to be, even if you are wrong, even if you are guilty, try to tell them that, you know what, I was wrong. And it's not a disgraceful thing for parents to actually admit to their children when they were wrong, or that they were wrong in some areas. Let them know that, you know what, I actually missed it there. I was wrong. And if you even if they caught you sinning or doing something wrong, let them know that, well, God wanted them to know, and you wanted them to know that you are human too, and that you are susceptible to mistakes or to failure, and just like they too will fail. And you should let your children know that the reason why elders fail and parents fail is not because they are evil, it's just because they are human. That's number one. But the other reason why God will allow, or why sometimes parents and leaders will fail, is so that the people who are under them will also learn. So when I or you as a leader fail, it's an opportunity for our followers, for those people who are following us, to be able to know that, well, so if he could fail, because he's a leader that I respect so much, if he could fail, it means that, I too cannot rely on my strength. Don't paint the picture of absolute perfection and what they call infallibility to your parents or your children. And that's a mistake some parents make. Parents sometimes, especially in our African culture, they come across as if, as parents, you cannot do anything wrong. As if, as parents, we are just next to Saint Mary or to the angels. We are the Lord Jesus Christ in the flesh. No, let them know that no, you have your own bad days too, and that you could fail and you could miss it, and don't be too proud to apologize to your children, to repent and to confess to them that you are wrong, and they should learn from your experience and they should learn from your mistakes as well. So don't put yourself on a pedestal so high that your children will now be thinking that you are infallible, so that when you fail, then they begin to say, oh wow, he's not perfect after all, or he's just an ordinary human being after all, or he's just as weak as, but why is he lying? Well, why is he pretending? And why is he playing the game? Is life just a game? Is my parents just about games? So if you want your children to really respect you, be authentic with them. Be authentic with them. Be real with them. And, especially when you promise them something. Children are sensitive to promises. I'm going to bring you the gift when I go to America. You go to America, and you just said that you didn't even remember. You didn't even do anything. You didn't bring it. You remembered, even though you say, okay, and you think he has gone to play, he's forgotten. But he remembers it. He remembers it. So if daddy can lie, it means I too can lie. And it's better not to lie. It's better not to promise and to do it, rather than promise and not to do and not do it. So the children remember things a lot. They remember things very well. So be authentic with them. If you promise to do something, go ahead and do it. And that will increase your authority before your children. Okay, next point. Like I said, there are different forms of integrity issues that parents have with their children. One is the promise and not to do it. The second form of challenge that children could have with their parents is outright lies and deception. Sometimes parents use lie to just as factors of motivation. So you tell lies, and a lot of, especially in European history, and some of we Africans also, we are copying that European history right now. So people will tell lies, like the stories. They tell stories that, let's say, Santa Claus is coming from somewhere. Tell your children the truth. People say, oh, children they like stories and fairy tale. Yes, they like fairy tale, but tell them the truth. Let your children don't make your children live in the life of fairy tale. Oh, somebody is coming tonight. I used to remember that some people in Africa also used to do that. Oh, somebody will come tonight and do something tonight. But it didn't come. Nothing came. So all those mysteries and all those superstitions, you shouldn't be using that to raise up your own children. Those are lies. And when they grow up, they will be expecting some superstitions as well. Or they will just think that life is not serious. But you don't want to create an opinion in your children that life is a superstition, life is just a mystery, life is not serious, anything can just happen. Anybody can just tell any story and do anyhow they want. No, let them know the reality of life. Don't use lies as a means of upbringing, as a means of teaching your children. If you use lies to teach them, they will believe in lies. Their foundation will be deceptive. In in European mythology, for example, there are a lot of, okay, like Cinderella, for example. Okay, Cinderella is not bad, but there are so many stories like that that make people to think that they can get something for nothing, or that something wonderful can just happen. Okay, like for example, you will live. Okay, let's even take the Cinderella story. They live happily thereafter. Yeah, they live happily thereafter. What is that? What does that mean? They live happily thereafter. Are you sure? So when children then grow up, they are thinking when they meet their Prince Charming, and that when they meet their Prince Charming, then they will just live happily thereafter, no struggles, and no problem. That they will not need to struggle, they will not need to pay the price, they will not need to tolerate each other, they will not need to endure, and they don't even need to get prepared for it. Just met each other, fell in love, and that is one of the reasons that we have so many family problems today. Because all the stories that you read, Cinderella story or other story, oh, this person met this person, they fell in love, and everything just went. They never tell you that there are differences, and that you could have differences, and that you have to get to know each other, that you have to struggle, that you have to humble yourself, that you have to learn some virtues, you have to learn to be long suffering, to be patient, to be forgiving. Those things are not even taught to the children. So when they are growing up, they are thinking of, oh, I will meet a girl, or I meet a boy, he will just fall in love with each other and live happily thereafter. And live happily thereafter. Thank God I grew up in a village. I grew up in my own Idobela village, so I don't know those stories, all those books, textbook stories of. The only one I knew was Cinderella, thank God. All the other stories telling of some, wonderful life and without, really the reality of it. I don't even know them. I don't even remember them. So I don't even have examples for you. But you know what I'm talking about. So even the biblical stories, when we use the biblical stories as tools of developing and parenting and nurturing our children, like Goliath and David and Goliath. Those are wonderful allegories. Those are, for the children, it's an allegory. We know that is the truth, but for the children, it's a wonderful allegory, because then you could say, you know what, David is a smaller man, and you should tell the children and tell them that this is not just a story. This is a lesson for you. You are small right now, but God wants you to challenge all the principalities, all the Goliath of your generation. So those are the kind of stories that you want to use, because they are based on the truth. And you could take the lessons from them and use those lessons to develop and mentor your children. But those other stories like Muse and Boone, Roman books, Mills and Bones. Well, I don't know the story, but I think the stories of the Bible might be much more authentic and that are based on truth. And don't use lies to try to raise up your children. Use lies and as an instrument of upbringing, will backfire. It will backfire eventually. Maybe not now. It will backfire later in life when those children are adults and they begin to see that life is not a joke at all, and that life is not an illusion. Life is not just some stories. Life is not some fairy tales. And life is a much more serious business than the things that, than the stories that they've been taught when they were growing up. And so don't use lies. And remember the stories and the promises and the commitments that you telling your children about. Make sure that they're based on the truth, and they are verified, and they are verifiable, and that they are things that they could use in life to better their lives and to use as principles that will guide them in life. Okay, next point. Next thing that really destroys relationship. Because how does that destroy a relationship? Because when your child grows up and it discovers that life is not really like that, it gets really very disappointed. I know people in Nigeria, for example, who used to tell their parents, their children, that they only need to go overseas and they only need to go abroad for them to make it. And when they got abroad, they found out that things are tough abroad, and they got angry against their parents, with their parents. They got angry with their parents and frustrated. So, you want to tell them that abroad is not easy. If you go overseas, you have to work. Things are tough. That you have to make sure that you pay the price. And those are the things you want to tell them. You want to tell them the truth. You don't want to just make them to have some hope that might not materialize. Next point that could destroy or could be responsible for the destruction of relationship between parents and their children is suspicion. Is for suspicion. If you are constantly suspecting your children, they will also begin to suspect you. So don't sow the seed of suspicion. Don't sow the seed of suspicion in the life of your children. And it's also a very bad thing if your children will begin to suspect you. Stop being suspicious of your children. Just be suspicious of your children. $10,000 assumptions. One fact is always better than 10,000 suspicion as well. So instead of living suspicion, destroys relationships. And the same thing with family. These principles I'm giving, they are not just principles about parents and children only. They could apply in any relationship whatsoever. Suspicion will destroy any relationship too. Suspicion will destroy a relationship. It breeds anger. It brings accusation. It brings strain in relationship. It brings a breakdown in communication, and it brings a breakdown in relationship as well. So you don't want to use suspicion as a means of relating with your children. Don't relate with them using suspicion as a weapon. It's better to go talk to them, ask them questions. Tell them about your fears, tell them about your doubts, tell them about the things that worry you, or concern you, and iron things out. Iron things out in truth and in sincerity, rather than in suspicion. Being suspicious rather than being suspicious. Again, today's topic is what destroyed relationships between parents and children. What destroyed relationships between parents and children. And the next thing that destroys relationship between children, because for children, trust is a big thing. They easily trust. But once that trust is destroyed, a lot of things go wrong. So one of the greatest things you want to give to your children, one of the great legacies that you want to give to them is that trust. You don't want that trust to be destroyed. Trust must not be violated. Trust must not be destroyed. So I'm going to talk about trust from different angles. And the angle that I'm going to use to talk right now, as a factor that destroys relationship, is when you build false hope. When you build false hope, when the children are expecting something, and that hope, something else comes up, and that their hope is dashed. For example, when you say we are going on holidays to Disneyland, for example. We'll go to Disneyland. First time you say we'll go to Disneyland, 1 year you didn't go. Second time you promised you'll go to Disneyland, you didn't do it. Third time we'll go to Disneyland and you didn't do it. I guess you know what that could do to the mindset and to the psyche of that child. Okay, I will allow you to go and spend the night with your friends. Okay, you didn't keep to the word. Okay, I will allow you to next week you go and you have a sleepover. Okay, and the child is happy, I'm going to have a sleepover, but you as the mother or the father, you know that you are not planning to let him go and have that sleepover because you really don't want him to do it. So you say, okay, next week you will go. So you are hoping that he will forget. And next week it comes to you, but you said, Mommy, you said that we are going to go for a sleepover. Why is it that it didn't happen? Oh, okay, next time. Okay, and it's open, all right, we're going to go for the sleepover. Then you didn't do it. And the baby or the son or your son or child stops reminding you. But he keeps it in the back of his mind. And in his own heart, he has reached a decision. He has reached a conclusion about father or about mother and about father's words and about mommy's words. So don't build false hopes for your children. Don't build false hopes for them. Or you told them, oh, okay, if you do well in your class, I will do this and do that. And what you are after is just to encourage them, right? You just want to encourage them and inspire them and, motivate them. But you told them that you would do this or that. And then the person did what you told him to do. He did well in his classes. And you never did it. You never did anything. Instead of the hope that you have built up for them, they were left frustrated and disappointed and stranded. That is another thing that, can destroy the relationship between a parent and his child. So between parents and children, your relationship will be ruined when you build hope and you don't come true. You don't come true. You don't fulfill the commitment, and the trust is broken, and that leads to so brokenness of the relationship and trust. Okay, another thing that will lead to the breaking and destruction of relationship, breaking down relationship between parents and children, is too much control. Too much control. If you are controlling your children too much, if you are you cannot let them go out of the room, or where are you, what are you doing, all those things. Especially when they are teenagers, you don't want to give them too much control. You don't want to become a policeman to your child. You want your child to have some form of liberty, some form of freedom, trust. They want to feel the trust coming from you. They want to feel that you have confidence in them. They want to feel that you, even though you do, for instance, the principle that I use in the church, and I think this principle to some extent could go in the families. I always say in our church that in our church everything is allowed apart from sin. Everything is allowed apart from sin. And the reason I used to say that is because I read it in the scripture. The Bible said He has called us to freedom. He has not called us to law. So even though we don't use freedom to do the wrong things, but we have been called to freedom, to liberty. So the same thing I think in the family. You should have your rules, your principles, and one of the rules, the most important rule I think you should have in the family is to always have that hour or half an hour or 1 hour of personal interaction, value building hour, that time of value building session with the father, value building session. So that value building session must be there every day, but you have to put a target to do it every day. So where you are developing some key values and key character in your children on a daily basis, you are meeting with them and you are discussing, and you are going through one value. So it has to be stable, and that has to be predictable all the time. But so you must have some things like that you are doing, or that you make sure. Okay, you want to make sure that they do their own work as well. You want to make sure that if there is a distribution of work in the house, maybe someone is supposed to clean today, or someone is supposed to wash the plates tomorrow. Make sure they do what they need to do, but don't control every single minute. Maybe they are supposed to spend just 1 hour on the computer or on TV. You tell them that, okay, your time is up. That you need to control. Maybe they need to make up their rooms. That you need to make sure control. More of oversight than control. More of oversight, control. So as a parent, give more oversight, give more monitor, give more leadership than control. And that control is what really could chase away your children from home. I used to do that early in my marriage, but after my children told me to face my business, that mommy, they told me to my face that, mommy, you always lie. Ooh. That is Tommy. Wow, that's a big one. Thank God they told you that. Thank God they told you that. Mommy, you always lie. Wow. I had to change. No, I rather not promise than promise and not do it. You see? So that is the way children that's the way children perceive that that is a lie. So that is a confirmation of this truth I'm saying. Trust for them is so important. And so they were actually thinking you are lying. Wow. And it's good that they told you, because if they had not told you, it's worse. If they just kept it in their mind and they grow up with that perception of you, that is the most horrible thing, because they will be thinking, they'll be growing up, not really take you ever serious again. They will never ever take you serious. That will be horrible. But the fact that they told you about it, that is so good, because that means they could trust you to share that with you, to tell you about it. Now you understand why we don't buy gifts to our children on Christmas or New Year or birthday. In our family, with Pastor Bosse, we don't practice that. We don't buy Christmas gift or New Year gift or Easter gift or happy birthday gift. We don't buy gift. We don't promise anything. We don't buy anything. We can only promise or buy when we know they really need it. If let's say they need a book for their school, or a planchette, or a computer, or anything they need a practical thing they need for life, then we could buy it for them for at any time, or to encourage them, or it could fall during the time of New Year or Christmas, but it's not because we tell them, if you need anything for your Christmas or for your birthday, ask God. He's your father, he's your supplier. We are just the managers here on earth. If you really need it, ask God. And we stand together with them, pray together with them, and say God should provide. And if you really need it, you see, God will provide. If you don't need it, if God didn't provide, it means you don't need it yet. So that's why we don't do that. Because most families, they have created a mindset in their own children that their children must always expect something from them. That their children must always expect something on birthdays, on Christmas, on some public holidays. They have that. These children have that expectation. And where do they have that expectation from? Where do they get it from? Do they get it from heaven? No, they got it from what? From the family. You could say no. Maybe they got it from other children, from the school. Or yes, even our children also go to school, and they know that their parents buy things for them. But they know, we explain to our children Why we don't do that? Because we don't want our relationship to be built on gifts. We want you to know that the greatest gift that you could have is your parents. You are already there. You have that gift every day. And that the greatest gift you have is the love that you enjoy every day, the relation, the warmth, thank God for the family you have. And so when they have birthday, what do? We sit down together, we cook, we eat, and we speak words. We make every member of the family, tell us what they appreciate about each other and about the person who is having the birthday, what they thank God for that person for. And we pray for that person, we congratulate the person, and we enjoy our day. If you want to give a gift, you can write a card. Write some card and write some good things and give to them. Me, as a father, I always give flower to all the girls in their birthday. But, those are just about it. So we don't want them to be dependent on material things as the basis for our relationship. If you remember any instances that you have promised something to your children and you didn't keep it, you didn't keep to the promise, go and call them around the table, or call that child and tell the child that, you remember I promised you this and this at a particular time. I couldn't do it, and this is the reason I couldn't do it. Please forgive me. Not that I forgot or I remember, but I just couldn't do it because we had so many crises, or we had so many burden, or so many expenses. It's better to talk and explain things out to them. If you don't explain to them why you didn't do it and that you actually had it in mind to do, that this is the reason why you didn't do it, then they will just think that you are untrustworthy. But if you call them and apologize to them and repent to them and ask them for their forgiveness and for their understanding, they will really appreciate that much more. All right, so what are the other things that, let me give you one more point at least, maybe one or two more points before we go. What are the other things that are responsible for the ruin of relationships between parents and children? What are other factors that could be responsible for the ruin in relationship between children and parents? Another thing that can lead to a breakdown in your relationship with your children is when you don't pay attention to them, when you neglect them. So neglect is a reason why children don't respect their parents. When you neglect them, when you don't pay attention, when they don't exist for you, and they have to run after you, and they have to call you for your attention, you don't have time for them, you don't, when there is no relationship, no respect, no response, negligence and neglect, those things ruin the relationship between the parents and their children. So when your children is talking to you and you are never here, and that is a major problem that I've seen in a lot of people, not just Africans, anybody. Sometimes you are talking to someone and he's daydreaming, he's absent-minded. You say, okay, yes. But the answer you are requesting, you are requiring, was supposed to be no. But he said, yes. You see, he's not hearing you. If you do that with your children, and a lot of mothers do that with their children. So they are doing their cooking, they are doing their whole thing, and the child is saying something, yes, mom, yes, okay. But you are really not there. And if you used to do that, it means that you might have been doing that a lot. And your children, know that it doesn't even worth it to approach you for anything anymore. Because your answer is always the same. You're always absent-minded. So that is interpreted to the children as ignoring. That is like negligence. That's like ignoring them. That's like you are totally, that they're not there in your life. And they are not in your life, or you are not in their lives. So it's so when you are with your children, try to be here and now. Try to be there right now. Try to be there here and now. Try to be as much as possible in your conscious mind while you are there. Be consciously involved in the life of your children. Be consciously involved, not just be abstractly involved, not absent-mindedly involved, but consciously involved. And a lot of parents are guilty of this. And they dream. They're dreaming about something else. Why, they are trying to raise up their children at the same time. And the children could detect that. And the children are feeling neglected. They are feeling neglected. They are feeling abandoned. And they are feeling unloved. They are feeling unloved. You want to change that, because that is like, ignoring them. That is actually like ignoring them. And later on, let me show you their response. The response of your children to that is this. Later on, they respond like this. Some children will actually do this physically. Some might not do this physically, but it's most likely this is the way they are going to respond to you. When you now want them to listen, they don't listen anymore. When you now want to tell them something, they don't want to hear you. Why? Because you have ignored them before, and you have ignored them for so long. So when you keep on ignoring your children, when they keep on talking and you don't hear them, when you keep on saying yes, and giving the wrong answer, they know you are not there for them. And so when you want them to hear you, this is their response. This is their response. They are not ready to hear your grammar and your holiness classes or your righteousness teachings, because you didn't hear them. You are not there for them. You are always absent-minded when they are talking. You are always lost. And they pay back like this. This is their payback time.